Have you ever had a great idea for an app or a simple task you wanted to automate, but the moment you looked at programming, you just hit a brick wall? Well, today we're going to dive into a project that wants to tear that wall down and make coding as simple as just writing a sentence.
Okay, let's be real for a second. I think a lot of us have been here. You open up a tutorial, you see this wall of just cryptic symbols and weird punctuation, and your brain kind of just says, nope. It's this super common frustration, right? This huge gap between what we want to tell a computer to do and what it actually needs to hear.
And this slide just illustrates the problem perfectly. On the left, you've got a simple, logical thought in plain English. Easy. On the right, you've got what a computer needs. And this is just one way to write it. You need specific classes, methods, brackets, semicolons, all of it. This translation barrier, this is where most people get stuck and just give up.
So, yeah, let's just give it a name, right? The programming wall. It's basically all the hurdles that make coding feel so out of reach for so many people, especially if you don't come from a computer science background. What's so interesting here is how it breaks down what that wall is made of. It's not just one thing. First, you've got the complex syntax, the grammar and rules you have to memorize. Then there are these really abstract concepts that are just hard to picture in your head. And now there's a new problem, something people are starting to call vibe coding. This is where you just ask an AI to write something for you and it feels kind of right, but you have no idea what the logic is. And that can lead to some seriously buggy and insecure programs.
So, if we're going to tear this wall down, we first have to understand why it's even there in the first place. And it really all comes down to a fundamental difference in how we think versus how computers, how they process information.
I love this analogy because it makes it so clear. You ask a friend, hey, can you make some tea? And they just get it. They have all this built-in context. They know where the kitchen is, what a kettle is, how to boil water. A computer? It has zero context. It needs every single tiny little step spelled out for it.
And just look at this. This isn't even the full recipe. A computer needs to be told exactly how many milliliters of water, the precise temperature to the degree it can't just guess or improvise. This absolute need for precision is really the essence of all programming.
So here it is, all summarized. We humans, we run on context and experience. Computers run on pure, unambiguous logic. For decades, programming has forced the human to learn the computer's language. But what if we could flip that around?
And that flip is exactly what CODEON is trying to do. It's a programming language designed from the ground up to bridge that gap, to let you code in a way that feels natural to the human brain.
This is their entire philosophy right here. The whole idea is to change programming from an act of memorizing syntax into an act of just clear explanation. If you can logically describe the steps you want to take, you should be able to write a program. Simple as that.
And here's what it actually looks like. Just read it out loud. It's pretty much a plain English sentence, isn't it? There are no confusing brackets, no semicolons to forget, and the phrase is equal to is as clear as it gets. You can immediately understand this, even if you have never, ever seen a line of code in your life.
So CODEON is built on a few really smart ideas. The syntax is human-readable, obviously. It's also forgiving, so a missing bracket isn't going to bring your whole world crashing down. But, the real game changer for learners is this smart error reporting. You know that horrible cycle of fixing one error, running the code again, and then it just fails on the next error? Yeah, CODEON gets rid of that. It tells you everything that's wrong all in one go.
So, how does this magic actually happen? How does simple English turn into a powerful professional program? Well, the answer is a really cool piece of technology called a transpiler.
The easiest way to think of a transpiler is like a universal translator for code. It doesn't go all the way down to the ones and zeros that a computer chip understands. Instead, it takes code written in one human-friendly language, like CODEON, and translates it into another one, like Python or SQL.
This whole sophisticated process is what makes it all work. It's kind of like an assembly line for your idea. First, your English-like code gets broken down into keywords, or tokens. Then its grammar and logic are checked to make sure it all makes sense. After that, it gets turned into this universal blueprint before, finally, it's translated into that production-ready code.
And this is where the concept gets really powerful. Because of that universal blueprint step we just saw, you don't just translate from one language to another. You can translate from one language to many. A single, simple piece of CODEON code can generate professional code for totally different systems all at the same time. So, for example, that simple script can be instantly transpiled into clean, efficient Python code.
Just like that, it's ready to run on a server, do some data analysis, or even power a machine learning model. But at the exact same time, from the very same source script, it can also become SQL code, ready to query a database. I mean, think about that. One logic, written one time in simple English, can be deployed everywhere. This could eliminate the need to be an expert in 5 different complex languages just to get a single project finished.
So what does this all really mean? Well, the ultimate goal here isn't just to create yet another programming language. It's about something bigger, democratizing digital literacy, giving everyone the tools to build and automate in the digital world.
This is for the business student who needs to analyze a spreadsheet, or the marketing pro who wants to automate some reports. It's for the teacher trying to explain logic without getting lost in syntax. Really, it's for anyone who's ever had an idea but felt blocked by that programming wall. This chart just perfectly positions what they're trying to do. Traditional languages, they give you total control, but man, they are hard to learn. AI assistants are easy, sure, but you lose control and you often don't even understand the logic. CODEON is aiming for that perfect sweet spot, a super low learning curve that still gives you full control and, most importantly, full understanding of what's happening.
And this isn't just a concept, they have a clear plan to make it a reality. You can see on the roadmap here, the immediate focus is on performance and adding some AI to help with debugging. Then that's followed by real-world testing before they do an open-source public launch.
So this kind of leaves us with a final thought to chew on. By taking away the barrier of complex syntax and just focusing purely on logic and problem solving, tools like CODEON could unlock this incredible wave of creativity. The next breakthrough app, or maybe even a world-changing algorithm, it might not come from a traditional programmer. It could come from an expert in a completely different field who can finally bring their ideas to life.